Hi, and welcome back to the North Lodge Cottage Garden. I'm the Gardener Ben with the next of my best of collections. The 10 roses personally put together next to me are all from David Austin Roses, and each one of these 10 beauties is going to be offering you the most amount of bang for your buck. So whether you're planting any of these 10 individually on a pillar or post or a freestanding statement, or whether you're going to be planting these en masse, each and every single one of these 10 is going to be offering you great value for money for very, very different reasons. I've selected these 10 roses because they are really high performing, very, very high disease resistance, and each is going to make a really big, bold statement in your garden. Most of these are going to need some support, and my suggestion is to grow each and every one of these up a pillar or post, give it an obelisk, or maybe make it a wigwam out of hazel sticks. But each one of these is going to make a real impact in your garden. Right, starting at the very top, and now unfortunately this particular rose is not showing at its best today. This stunner, normally very, very pretty indeed, is actually Mill on the Floss, a really large statement shrub from David Austin Roses. This one is going to get up to around 6 to 7, maybe even to 8 feet. So you could actually train this one as a short climber or against the side of a rose arch, or put it against a wall. But I actually put mine up a small handmade obelisk. But Mill on the Floss is a really stunning rose for adding a huge amount of wow factor to your garden. Normally one of the later roses in flower, and especially into September and October when it really finds its stride, this particular rose benefits from the lower nighttime temperatures really bringing out the pigment in its actual form. Next to it is a really lovely rose which I adore. I'm going to be planting this over the next few months en masse. At the moment I have Kew Gardens as a standalone shrub in a mixed border, but I'm actually going to be using this as a backing shrub over the next few months in a new border I'm creating here. Very, very simple. It's the most beautiful soft ivory white cream with a stunning collection of golden stamens in the centre, surrounded by a buttery yellow eye. Kew Gardens reaches around 4.5 to 5 feet high. It's a really large statement shrub, so plant it individually in the border or en masse like I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using this as the backing colour for a new border, punctuating it with lots of other strong colours, but using its beautifully simplistic flowers as the backdrop for a really new border that I'm going to be creating over the winter. So this one is Kew Gardens. Next to it, a rose that many of you love, and I do too. A really large, bold statement, high performing rose, making it onto several of my best of collections, including, and most importantly, the best for fragrance range. This stunner is the Poet's Wife, producing these enormously large golden flowers that are very, very highly scented. This is a very informal floppy shrub which does need some support, so make sure you do give it an obelisk. But this rose will reach in excess of 5.5 to 6 feet once fully mature, so a really, really large plant, producing flowers sometimes up to 5 to 5.5 inches across. It has the most extraordinary fragrance, which is rich, it's fruity, and it's clean, and it's got essences of citrus and a hybrid tea edges there. It really is rather pleasant. So this one is the Poet's Wife. Underneath of it, a rose that's making it onto several of my best of collections and ranks really highly within last year's top 20. Certainly going nowhere out of the top 10 this year. This one is Gabriel Oak. Again, a large informal shrub which does need some support, but planted en masse, this extraordinary coloured rose makes a real statement in the garden. Next to it, Kew Gardens' sister rose. This particular one never ceases to bring a smile to my face. This one is the lovely Tottering by Gently, and as you can see here, it just simply glows with colour. The softest of buttery yellow creams. It really is incredibly pretty. Another one that produces great hips during the autumn and winter, so make sure you don't deadhead it. This particular rose getting quite large and scrawly as well, up to about 5 to 5.5 feet, so do make sure you give it some support. Yet again, I give mine an obelisk made out of basic hazel sticks and simply tie the canes in, but a really, really lovely one. Also because it's very unfussy, very, very pretty. A rose that I have here planted in several large groups. This one I've talked about on several of my best of collections, and gracing the front of the David Austin catalogue this year is the Queen of Sweden. This particular rose reaches in excess of 5.5 to 6 feet, so it's absolutely perfect for the back of a border, standing bolt upright, as you can see from the flowers that I have in this vase. Standing bolt upright, very, very true to form, very, very proud and strong on its stem, so taking a lot of the weather well. Plant this in groups of 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 to create a really, really large statement in the garden. Just below it, a rose that always gets plenty of attention, a large shrub from David Austin Roses, really showing beautifully here today in the light outside. This one is the Lady of Shalott, offering you an incredibly good value for money. This particular shrub rose will get to in excess of 5 to 5.5 feet and produce hundreds and hundreds of blooms consecutively all the way through the summer. This particular one looking really, really good, bringing out those lovely coppery apricot tones in its flowers right now. Unfortunately, there's very little scent with this particular rose, but it does offer you great value for money. Hugely long flowering season with blooms produced freely all the way through June, July, August, September, and another rose that makes the benefit of those lower nighttime temperatures as we move into September and October, when the colour really intensifies as those evening temperatures drop off. Next to it, an addition from 2022, the very, very beautiful Elizabeth from David Austin Roses. As I've said in my personal review, this particular rose is going to get really quite large. Haven't actually reached its full size in the garden just yet. I've only had it in the ground for about 18 months, but I've already identified that this particular rose needs a little bit of support, so I'm already growing it up an obelisk, which makes it absolutely perfect for making a really big, bold impact in the garden. I've got a feeling this one's going to run on to about 5.5 to 6 feet, so this is Elizabeth, offering you huge value for money. Next to it, last year's other addition from David Austin Roses, now becoming widely available throughout the rest of the world, the absolutely stunning Bring Me Sunshine. They are actually to my left and to my right in 2 large corten steel planters, each of them towering 6 to 7 feet tall and absolutely dripping with flowers. Bring Me Sunshine is an absolute belter of a rose that you really cannot afford not to have in your garden, especially if you want to make a really large, bold statement. Not only is it a large flowering plant, it also produces very large flowers, and absolutely masses of them. A really great value for money plant. One more rose in this collection, bringing the total to 10. A rose that I absolutely love because it's very, very simple and simply radiates and glows with colour. This beautiful one is the Lark Ascending, a huge shrub reaching in excess of 5 to 7 feet if you allow it. I actually love it when it actually towers up above the border late on in the season. There's something about the pigment of this particular rose as we enter into the latter parts of September and into October, where the light catches it beautifully. For those of you that know, our light frequencies change between summer and winter, and as we head into the winter and the light frequencies change, it becomes much, much more blue in its pigment, and this rose simply radiates colour as those pigments come through our light frequencies. Another beautiful rose that's very attractive to pollinators, a lovely loosely open formed cup which is really enticing to a pollinator, and another one that produces really, really lovely big fat orange hips into the back end of the season. So don't deadhead this one as we head into the latter parts of September. Leave it to set a few hips which you can cut and bring into the house later on in the year. So next to me, 10 absolutely stunning roses, all from David Austin Roses, that are going to be giving you a huge amount of value for money, all perfect for planting on a pillar, post or obelisk, all of which are going to give you really high performing plants and the most value for money if you want to make a big, bold statement in your garden.